This has been the plague for me when it comes to actually changing from one computer's operating system to another operating system. Hey guys, this is a video I filmed. It's actually part of a bigger video I filmed about my Linux experience, but I felt it merited a separate video as it was really a separate subject about this issue. At least in my opinion, it's an issue that I'm seeing in sort of the Linux community. But I just wanted to insert myself here and say I was a little bit frustrated with aspects of my Linux experience when I recorded this. I still stand by the majority of what I said in this video, but there may be a few points where I came off a little bit strong. So I just want to apologize to the Linux community in advance. I really appreciate the Linux community and don't want to come across disrespectful to them. So if I did, I apologize. These are just my opinions. Take them or leave them. Let's get into the video. I think there's two main categories of people that use or want to start using Linux, and one of those categories often gets poo-pooed on by the other, and that is the FOSS purist community, the free and open source purist community that's sort of like anti-capitalist. And then there's the people who they actually like Windows, or at least they tolerated it and it worked for them once upon a time, and maybe they'll tell you Windows 7 was their favorite operating system. I've even heard people say Windows 8 or even earlier, and they liked it and they never really wanted it to change. They just wanted it to become more modern and not so invasive with ads. And these people are now looking for an alternative, and because they've been Windows diehards for so long, Mac sounds like selling their soul to the devil. They would rather go with Linux, something that gives them the promise of freedom from Windows. But the catch is these people don't like change. They are the sole opposite of the other category, the tinkerers. They love getting into and trying new open source software. They like to distro hop, try different flavors. They like to tinker and try new things. And these are the absolute opposite people, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, and I think this is why there's this clashes where people are like, I'm leaving Windows, it sucks, and then they try Linux and they're like, Linux is hard and it also sucks, and people are like, you're wrong, you're dumb, Linux is actually awesome. And then there's all this sort of like animosity and infighting and people complaining that the Linux community is not welcoming, which I don't think is entirely true. I think there's lots of welcoming, friendly people, and there's mean people everywhere, let's be honest. But I think the reason for this infighting animosity comes from two different visions of what the reason to use Linux is for. And I just want to say there's no right or wrong reason to use any piece of tech. Like, we need to kind of get over these like high horse positions. I heard it all the time when I went from Windows to Mac, trying to do something like, wait, why can't I cut and paste from in Finder like I can cut and paste from within Windows Explorer, when I can cut and paste in other apps that are made by Apple, like TextEdit? And I've had so many people tell me, well, like, that's the wrong way to do it, and blah, blah, blah. There's no such thing as the wrong way to use tech. Use your iPhone as a hammer if you want to. It's your device. Do whatever you want. And to me, that's the point of Linux. Freedom to do whatever you want. And so it annoys me when people are trying to try Linux and people are like, no, you're doing it wrong. That's not the way to use Linux. The point of Linux is that you can do whatever you want. The point of any of this tech is fun exploration. You shouldn't be telling people what they can or can't do. The whole point is customization and freedom. It's the whole opposite of the ethos of something like Apple. It's just funny to me to see people kind of like in the Linux community making fun of Apple's closed offness at the same time as telling people the right and wrong way to use their own computer. There's a category of people who love trying new things, and there's a category of people who the whole reason they're abandoning Windows in the first place is because Windows keeps changing on them in ways that they don't like, and they don't like change. They want to use the same application that looks the same until the day that they die. They don't enjoy tinkering with computers. And that's where Linux becomes, unfortunately, a really bad option for a lot of those people. But it's getting better. For a lot of those people, I'm going to be frank right now. If you are in that category, you're watching this video because you're thinking as a newbie about trying Linux and you do not like learning new things as it comes to tech, there's some in the Linux community that would be mad at me for saying this, but you should probably just go get a Mac. Can I be honest? I've used all three, and you should probably just get a Mac if you don't like things always changing on you and you want things to just be simple and never tinker with anything, and you don't like customization and experimentation. Just get a Mac. However, if you are even halfway curious, even if you like a little bit of the idea of Linux, give it a try. It's free. What do you have to lose? Just try installing it if you just don't want Windows anyway. Dual boot it if you're nervous, or put it in a virtual machine. There's lots of guides on that about Linux. If you decided to watch this video as somebody who's like diehard in the Linux, I hope that some of the insights from a new user are sort of useful to you in the community, because I think that these voices are important in the community where there's a lot of people who have a lot of experience or very quickly become very experienced. Like I feel like I'm a lot more experienced than I was at using Linux and command line and all these kind of things. And they kind of scoff at people who are coming in new and kind of like shrug off the things and say like, that was hard for me years ago, but now I'm good at it. So just get over it. You'll get good at it. And I really don't think it's a flex that like a system is hard. You know, like I often hear people talking about, like how, like they say Linux is really user friendly. What are you talking about? Like, how is it not user friendly? And I think there's this conflation of customization and user friendliness, and those are usually at odds. I'll say the same argument in Android versus iPhone. A lot of people say that iPhone is more user friendly, and people say come from Android and say it's not user friendly at all. It's way more user friendly because I can do this, this, and this, and this, and this. In Android, I'm like, it's awesome, and those are good things that you can do that in the customization, but that's not what user friendliness is. User friendliness is talking about the ease of not of intuitiveness. Then we can argue about whether or not iOS or Android or Linux or this or that is more like intuitive in the way that it's thought. But like where I would say Linux's power is the ability to recreate it to be user friendly in the manner in which you feel is user friendly versus what the masses consider user friendly. In that sense, I would say you can get it to be user friendly, but it's not user friendly out of the box most of the time, but it's gotten a lot better. And I think if you do some research and you wisely choose your distro for your use case, if you want to generally use computing, just jumping off of Windows, Zorin is great. If you want gaming, there's no borrow, there's Cashy, there's Pop OS, there's all these ones that have a little bit more of a gaming focus. So if you do some research, you'll be able to find something that is more user-friendly to your mindset. You have to be willing to do that research at first. And the Linux community, if they want this to be the year of the Linux desktop, then they have to be patient with the people that want to use their computer in a way that you don't deem to be the correct way to use a computer. Otherwise, we are no better than the Apple sheeple. Okay, I say we like I'm a part of this community. I'm learning. I'm growing, and I still like my Apple. A lot of things about my Apple products. I just got these AirPods. I really love some of the features that, frankly, are hand holding, but I like them. But if the Linux community is going to complain about the Apple sheeple and the Microsoft people that just go along with everything like that, and use the computer the way Apple tells them to use the computer, then we can't then be on our high horses telling newbies, this is how you have to use your computer. People want to use their computer to do different things than you do, and that's okay. That's the power and beauty of a endlessly customizable system. We should encourage people to use computer the way that they want to use the computer, not the way we want to use computer. We don't sit there and argue about why command line is better than a UI approach. Don't sit there and argue why GNOME is terrible and you should use KDE. The average person doesn't know this. They don't care. They just want to use it for a specific thing, and they want it to work the way that they expect it work, and we should help them get to that point, because that's what shows them what is awesome about Linux. And they may eventually get to the point where they go, you know what, GNOME is kind of limiting. I'd rather use KDE desktop environment. You know what, Zorin, it was good at first, but now I want to jump into something else that gives me more customization, more control. But they're only going to get there if we can show them an inviting way into the door. And I think some of these more entry-level distros is really the way to go. Nobody's going to go from Apple to Arch, by the way. They have to have baby steps. I mean, some people are, but I think that we need to be more open-minded about the way that people will use their computers as new people. And I think that we need to help them do that. And I know that there are corners of the Linux community that do that so well. I don't want to pretend like those people are the minority. I'm sure that the angry people are just a vocal minority, but I'm excited to continue my Linux journey and adventure, and I hope you guys are excited to hear about it. If you are, let me know in the comments below and what you would like to hear about my experiences coming from Mac and Windows on Linux. If there's anything specific you'd like to hear about, like what it was like doing gaming, what it was like doing content creation, et cetera, or maybe a particular thing you want me to try, a desktop environment, a distro, whatever. And I hope you will subscribe for more content. I talk about all things tech, whether it's Mac, Linux, Windows, iPad, maybe these earbuds sometime, philosophical concepts about all of this. And I hope you tune in for that, and productivity talks and things like that. Have a great day.